please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Childers. Perfect. Lee.
Aye.
Fessler. Here. Morales.
Here.
Sullivan.
Here.
Owen.
Here. Okay, we're going to start with the fun part of the meeting, 207's best, and we're going to start with, I think, a makeup, one from last month. Sean?
I'd like to introduce Sarah Asen. You may stand, Sarah, at 207 Best. Academic achievement from Maine South. As Mrs. Owen mentioned, kind of a leftover from last month, so we're happy to have her here to honor her. Sarah is the definition of a serious student, but that's not all she does around our building. As you'll see from my letter here, she has a GPA of 4.94, which is almost as high as you can possibly have. So that's achieved through hard work in taking our highest level academic classes since freshman year. But that's not all that she does around our building. Sarah is the president of the Key Club. So as the president, she organizes volunteer activities at local agencies such as Brookdale Senior Home, Avenues to Independence, and Feed My Starving Children. She's also the president of the National Honor Society, where she helps to organize the school's peer tutoring program and fundraises for charity through the balloon shop and our color run, which is coming up, which is an exciting event. So if you want to run around our campus and get doused with different colors for charity, Sarah helped to set that up. Should be a fun run coming up. Is it next month?
April.
She's also a PE leader, a Hawk Pride leader, a staff writer for Southward. She's in the engineering club. She's a math tutor. Sarah does it all. Actually, one of my favorite quotes from a teacher came out when we were taking nominations, and that was from Mrs. Aben. When Sarah's former English teacher, Mrs. Robin Corlitz, learned that I had Sarah in class, she said, "How wonderful for you. Sarah is some sort of school wizard." I've never heard that term used before. While I found this comment encouraging yet a bit confusing at the time, I quickly learned how true it was. To clarify, Sarah is not a school wizard in a fantastical sense. She neither requires potions nor magic to achieve her success. Rather, Sarah's exceptional intellect and intrinsic motivation set her apart from her peers in an extraordinary manner. Her curious mind, her astute insights, and her elegant writing distinguished her in her AP English class junior year. Sarah is truly one of 207's best, and I'm thrilled that she's being recognized. And that was the sentiment through all teachers, but I thought that one just captured it the best. What impresses me about Sarah is her work ethic and her commitment. Right after talking to her about this award, I ran into her in the cafeteria and she was setting up for an NHS fundraiser in there. She just has bitten off everything that we have at school, engaged herself, and we're just really proud that you're one of our finest, proud to honor you, and we're going to miss you next year.
Thank you.
So Sarah, can you tell us who's with you and what some of your plans are for next year?
Sure. So this is my mother, Maureen. We have my sister, Emma, who's a sophomore here at Maine South. My little brother, Matthew, is a 6th grader at Emerson. My father, Ken. My grandmother, Jean, and my grandfather, Jim. And next year I want to study biomedical engineering. Not quite sure where I'll be doing that. We need to hear from some schools. But yeah, that's what we're doing.
Come on up, Sarah. We got some awards for you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, and now I think we're moving on. Sean, you have another one to present?
I do. Tonight, this month, we are honoring elective area excellence. And for Maine South, we are going to honor Isabel Tobolsky. Isabel, please stand up. She again is another fantastic student from Maine South, GPA 4.7, and her area of interest is languages. So I want to make sure I get all of these correct. She's a true polyglot, which is a term, by the way, I learned when I came to Maine Township. I never knew what that was, but it's someone who takes multiple languages, studies multiple languages. She's fluent in English, Polish, and Spanish. She's currently taking Spanish 5 AP, Chinese 4 Accelerated, and German 1 Accelerated. She's also taken French 1 Accelerated, and the only reason she didn't take French 2 this year is because it didn't fit into her schedule. Her life experiences have really helped shape this path, shape her love of languages. Both of her parents were born and raised in Poland, and therefore she has the privilege of growing up bilingual. And this, coupled with her family values of being able to speak multiple languages, has given her a global outlook on life. She's traveled to China, spent more than a month living in Peru as a volunteer in a medical center there. She understands that the study of language can open up a world of possibilities, literally in her case. And she certainly positioned herself to take advantage of all the opportunities that being multilingual can provide. One of the teacher's quotes that stood out for me was from Mr. Trenkle. All the teachers talked about her being imaginative, a humble intellectual, understanding the importance of collaboration and cooperation. But Mr. Trenkle states, "Since I first met her as a sophomore in my economics class, a class she certainly didn't need to take, Isabella has impressed me. She seems to understand that academics is not simply a means to an end, nor a hurdle to jump through on a way to a life of comfort. Instead, through her questions and contributions to class discussions, she has made it clear that she views class as a way to better understand the mystery and complexity of life. I found her to possess an abundance that is the most rare quality of even Maine Township's brightest students, which is curiosity. Whether it be talking through the nature of religious liberty found in the First Amendment, or the way the British Parliament works, Isabel has always been genuine and honest." So even though she's being honored for foreign language achievement, that curiosity, I think, is what has sparked that love of languages and really set her apart from so many of our fine students at Maine South. The thing that stands out for me is her embrace of new learning. In all the conversations I've had about her in the course of preparing this letter, teachers talked about how much she just loves learning and she truly wants to understand the world around her. And I think her trips to China and Peru and just her genuine interest in other cultures makes her a true asset not only for us, but wherever she'll be lucky enough to attend next year. So with that, I give you Isabel. So who's with you and what are your plans?
This is my dad, Arthur, and my mother, Marta. And next year, I plan to also study biomedical engineering like Sarah. I'm also not sure yet, but we'll see where it takes me.
Fantastic.
Next for Mainies, Mike.
Great. Hi, everybody. I am very pleased to introduce our honored student for elective area achievement, Yassine Mirati. Yassine, would you stand up, please? So, got a lot of information back from Yassine's teachers and people that have worked with him over his 4 years at Maine East. And there's some very common themes that kept coming back. A diligent, well-rounded student who prepares his assignments with enthusiasm, displaying a thirst for knowledge. Terrific student and even a better person. Brings enthusiasm, smarts, and leadership to the classroom. Promising and gifted young man who really contributes to the learning environment for all of my students. Fantastic young man who is determined and driven to succeed. Phenomenal student and a wonderful, interesting person. He's respected by his peers, a leader, soulful contributor. He is the consummate leader. Those are individual comments from 7 different teachers whose information I didn't include in the rest of the letter. So again, we're hearing very common themes here. So if you take a look at what Yassine has done in his time here, he's got a GPA of 4.78. He's had a schedule that has been very heavy with AP and accelerated courses. He's a Schuler Scholar. But specifically in terms of the electives that he's taken, he's been active in 2 areas, in some of the business classes, in entrepreneurship, and help me here, I just lost it, and accelerated college accounting. And he's had 5 years of Spanish language, so he started studying before he came to East and is currently in AP Spanish. And he's also been 3 years of our Project Lead the Way, which are predominantly sort of engineering classes. So it was the other area of elective concentration. And in that he's taken computer integrated manufacturing, civil engineering and architecture, and introduction to engineering design. He's a member of the Rotary Interact Club, very much a leader there, and has also been one of our leaders in DECA. Qualified last year for nationals, and tell you a little bit about that in just a moment. A few weeks ago, we had an open expo for Career and Technical Education, CTE, for students that were considering taking some of the classes. And Yassine was a student that spoke to the parents, and my understanding is basically really just said, you know, electives have changed his life. He's really been able to take advantage and sort of leverage those for his interests and passions, and the fact that he's a pretty bright guy as well. John Schwan has been a mentor to him. John's had him in entrepreneurship and the college accounting, and talked a little bit about Problem-Based Learning Project, where the class developed a marketing plan. Our transition program students have started a business, coffee and tea and hot chocolate business, and they developed, devised the marketing plan for student body and for teachers, and found out where the needs were and put the whole thing together with recommendations for creating the business. They presented to school administrators, and the panel of administrators, again, were just very, very impressed with the thoroughness, the comprehensive, the manner of it, and it's been a thriving business. They have just been doing gangbusters this year. So it's just one of many ways that he's led. In the CTE and the Project Lead the Way classes, Tom Kaiser is one of our teachers who has had Yassine for 2 of the classes. Said he excelled in both civil engineering and architecture and computer integrated engineering, always an outstanding contributor to the engineering environment of our courses. He's always able to bring in new thoughts, fresh ideas, the activities and projects that we were studying. Often an asset to his fellow students, providing help and encouragement when they struggle. Genuinely cares about learning, furthering his knowledge, and proud to have him in class. Last year, Tim Papageorge was Yassine's English teacher for AP Language and Composition. And I included an excerpt that Tim wrote for him because I think it really speaks to a lot of the reason that Yassine has been so successful in everything he's done. Said on a daily basis, Yassine was a young man of honor, always prepared, always respectful. He brought a special brand of critical thinking to our classroom, and it was powerful to see him change the direction of a discussion, introduce a new interpretation, push back on accepted wisdom, etc. At the accelerated AP English level, many students default to consensus-type thinking, often going along with what their peers or teacher expect or say. Yassine was able somehow to bring some friction to classroom culture, and I believe that he did this in a mature and reasoned way. I think it's that critical thinking which has been something that we would wish to instill in all of our students. Been very active, as I said, in Interact, helping over the last 2 years. He's been a leader in raising over $17,000 for us to donate toys to the WGN Toy Drive. And as I mentioned earlier, he finished in the top 3 at the DECA State Conference, qualified for nationals, a competition that had over 1,500 participants. His DECA entry, he developed as part of an entrepreneurship class project, involved a market feasibility study for a new product being considered by Solstice mobile technology company located in Chicago. And some of the execs at Solstice basically said the product, the plan they came up with was of equal or higher caliber than what they paid consultants to do. So again, we see some consistency there. So again, I think Yassine is one of these people that speaks to sort of the Maine East story. He's obviously a bright young man who has taken advantage of, I think, a very supportive family environment and a very supportive school environment. And in a moment, he's going to tell you a little bit about what his plans are after he graduates. But he's got a lot of fans at Maine East, and we're proud of him and wish him all the best, and expect he's going to be yet another great representative for our school and our district. So congratulations, Yassine. Who's with you today?
So, my mom, my dad, and also for next year's plan, I'm going to Dartmouth, and I'm probably going to be studying, I guess, YouTube or going to biomedical engineering. I'm thinking about biomedical engineering with an entrepreneurship kind of style, so definitely what you said was kind of going into there.
Very good.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, next for Maine West, Audrey.
I'm pleased to introduce to you Alejandro Alex Botello. There's a quote that I like by Ralph Marston that says, "Excellence is not a skill, it's an attitude." And if you were to meet Alex for just a few minutes, you would see that his attitude exudes excellence. I had my senior meeting with him just last week, and was absolutely floored by his eloquence and just the way he talked about Maine West and his experiences there. And it was equally impressive that two of his teachers nominated him in two different elective areas. And if we had to have chosen between either one of them, I think we would have had a fight between those two teachers because they were equally passionate about you. Mr. Galanis, Senor Galanis, has had you in class, and he's in Spanish 5 AP right now. Said he's never met a student as hardworking and as talented as Alex before in all 4 areas of Spanish AP, reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And that he works extremely hard to be perfect, not just to excel, but to be perfect in all 4 of those areas. He's also the president of the Spanish National Honor Society, and Senor Galanis says he is one of the best he's ever seen in that role. He's a member of our National Honor Society as well with a 4.6 GPA. He's taken accelerated classes in any area that has an accelerated class since his freshman year. So he's not just excelling in the Spanish language. But the other teacher who would have had a physical fight on your behalf, and I exaggerate obviously, but it's Ms. Mazanowski, who was in our business department. He's taken every business class, CTE class that he could fit into his schedule, and has excelled in those areas as well. Ms. Mazanowski says that he has taken accounting in both Accounting 1 and College Accounting Accelerated with her, and he said, she said he grasped the concepts quickly and applies them to various business scenarios. He's extremely intelligent with a bright future in whatever career path he chooses. He's a Gates Millennium Scholar. I just learned that from Mr. McClure, who would have also joined in that fight if he were in an elective area, to recommend you at the top of the class and one of Maine West's absolute best students. He's also a Warrior Pride mentor. He's involved in Maine West in a multitude of ways just to have a positive impact on other students at Maine West. And one of the neatest things he said during the meeting with me was when I asked, what advice do you have to freshmen? And he said, get involved and don't be afraid to be yourself. And Alex has really done that at Maine West. He's grown from a very quiet and shy freshman to still a quiet and shy senior, but who has made his mark on Maine West, and we are extremely proud of Alex's successes. So I give you Alex Botello. So Alex, tell us who's with you today.
So I brought my parents and my little sister, and this coming fall I'll be attending Northwestern University to study economics and maybe double major with engineering.
Nice job.
Congratulations to all of you wonderful, amazing students and your parents. And if you're interested, now is a good time to maybe step outside and have a photo with your principals, and it will be your chance to escape the meeting as well if you're not interested. So thank you for coming. Thank you very much.
Soon, not too long. Very shy, right? Very shy.
Okay, there are no public comments, so do we have an update from the superintendent?
Real quick update, I just want to announce that this past Friday at the ICE conference, which is a technology group that was attended by over 3,500 attendees, our Michael Biondo, who is a social science teacher and one of our instructional coaches at Maine South High School, winning the ICE Educator of the Year. It's a very prestigious award, and at that conference, Hank said we had more than a dozen of our teacher leaders leading sessions to help all of these schools out there that are following us into one-to-one learning how we do it here at Maine. So it was a great conference, and again, one of our teacher leaders was recognized as a top educator in Illinois, particularly for his use of technology. And those of you that know Mike know that he's been a trendsetter for us for a number of years.
Great.
Didn't Hank also give presentations?
Hank also did give presentations, and I got a nice email from someone who was in my PhD cohort that was in his presentation, telling me what a great presentation it was.
Wonderful. Do we have any updates from board members?
I'm planning on going to the National School Board Convention. I think Jen is as well, and looking forward to the second time. It was very
We have someone speaking.
and our superintendent is speaking on Sunday.
And Barbara
And
will be
Barbara
with us too.
Just want to quickly share that last year was my first time attending conference in New Orleans. And it was my first time visiting New Orleans in my life too, but it was fantastic. The program is like from morning to evening. They have like all-day programs, workshops, seminars, and so on. Great program, great educational workshop seminars too. So you have learned tremendously. So Mary and myself are highly recommend for the other board members too, if they can, try to get some time out to visit it. Definitely worthwhile.
Okay, policy committee update, that's actually me. We did have a policy committee meeting, and we're going to go over some of the details soon, but mostly we were bringing a few policies, we have some recommendations today, bringing a few policies to conformity and adding some procedures, I believe, that we really needed to do on gender identity, I think some issues on that. So we'll get to that in a minute. Yes, Jim?
Just have a quick question in reference to the policy committee. I think this might get reference to a question on our expellment policies.
Expulsion.
Expulsion, right. So any students wrongdoing depends on what percentage, what ratio that we are as a school expelling the students. I'm sure that we don't have to compare with the other states, but I know like in New York State, city of New York, they have been reducing, working on a special policies to helping the students in less harsh or less harshment. They have some reforming a new discipline code, for example. So I'm sure overall fairly our district is doing a pretty good job on such, but I was wondering annually what percentage of our students get expelled, for example. Is it high, low, what the situation? And if we do have such concern or issues, are we just automatically calling 911 and the police get involved and take care of the situation? And or as far as I know, I believe that our school have some kind of a good committee who's looking into those kind of variety issues and concerns and try to work it out and take care of it. I think which is an excellent way to do so, instead of when the kids were in trouble, just sending them in to the jail or to the police and so on. So I don't know how much our the regulation or our policies, how strict is it? And if there's if any chance the number of higher percentage of our students get expelled, we can certainly look into and try to find a good way to to help those students and try to find some other alternative way to work some kind of assistance or programs with the school teachers, the parents, the community organization to look into that kind of cases. So just want to share that.
And I can speak to this, having been here 10 years, we don't expel kids hardly ever here in District 207. And in fact, I will promise you our expulsion rates are well below the state average, well below the national average. And in fact, District 207 has had a practice at the board level of, instead of expelling students, we've actually done what's called an expulsion abeyance, and we've actually paid tuition for students to go to the North Cook Academy, for example, none of which is a requirement for boards to do that, but we've gone actually above and beyond the call for students who, for whatever reason, have been expelled from school, but we've done what's called an abeyance. So we hold that expulsion, we give a student a chance, we continue to provide an education. There are a couple of statutory provisions that happen for schools when certain things happen that you don't have a lot of latitude, but beyond that, we've exercised a lot of latitude. In fact, we've reduced our suspension rates, we've had an infinitesimal expulsion rate, but we've even reduced that. So we've worked really hard. The character education, things like our code at East, we can demonstrate across the district having reduced suspension rates, and those two are tied. Have a high suspension rate, then you often have a high expulsion rate too. So we've reduced both of those things. And I would say in the 10 years I've been here, I think I can handle it on both hands and still have some fingers left over.
That's really good to know. Maybe sometime, maybe the community could also knows about those positive programs, projects that we are doing to help assist in such cases. I think that the community will be also grateful of that. And that's a great job that our district is doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members? Okay, Finance Committee update. Sean?
About a half dozen items there, most interesting of which revolve around Kane, the technology budget for 2015-16, which is projected to be $1.693 million for next year. Mary indicated that she requested a 3-year quote from our auditors. We are very satisfied with the auditing that they do here with the district force. Our mid-year budget update reflects a $2.7 million deficit. We reviewed the revised policy of 8312, which we also gone through in our policy committee. And then we talked about course fees and textbook fees, which have come down substantially for the e-books that are available. I know that Hank actually has some information here on not only the reduction in weight of the backpacks that occurs, but also the reduction in price that occurs for the parents as well as the school district. Because for those students who cannot afford to buy the books, we buy them for them. So this is a benefit to all the taxpayers in the district. The fact that we've switched over to Chromebooks based on Hank's recommendation that we're able to provide these electronic books. And the final thing we reviewed was the visual image photography contract with Maine South Athletics. And all of those items were recommended for approval.
Thank you very much. Okay, Buildings and Grounds.
Yes, we met right after the Finance Committee meeting. Talked about 3 main things. First of all, the Maine West Athletic Edition. The bids are in, they are being reviewed. Good news is that there is consistency in the bids. There's not one way off of the other. So we feel good about the integrity of that pricing. From a capital outlay perspective, big expenditure would be the Maine South simulators, and then $30,000 is allocated to the school for the coming year. We will be requesting approval on that. And then Maine South Deans and Guidance Office remodel, the contract will be awarded at $147,723, and we will be requesting approval of that.
Very good. Then we'll move along to finances. Mary?
In your board packet are the January financials. You may notice A little bit of formatting changes. January is the first month under the new finance and human resource system. So we haven't gotten our historical data, so you'll notice we did our best to put the numbers in, but you'll see a little bit of a difference in the coming months. On the revenue side, we're trailing a little bit behind as the mid-year budget pointed out. Property taxes are trailing about 2% less than budget, so that explains some of the revenue differences. The expenditures are in line with both the budget and projections. Also in the packet is a very detailed mid-year budget update that goes by major function area and talks about where we're at currently, what our projections are. At this point, we are projecting a little bit of an increase in the deficit from 1.1 million to 2.7, primarily due to the property taxes I indicated. Always the wild card is the state, because there is the fourth quarter payment that we won't know until August if we get in time to record for this fiscal year, or if it has to go in the next fiscal year. Certainly if we don't get that fourth quarter payment, that deficit number will increase, but it will be a timing difference because that's money that the state owed us. They will just be behind in those payments. I will entertain any questions that anybody has on either the January financials or the mid-year budget update.
Any questions at all? Okay. Okay, thank you, Mary. Monthly update on FOIA requests?
We have one request this month that's been processed.
Board of Education policies and procedures, correct?
Yes, we have 3 policies that are brought to you this evening for a first reading. These were recommended by the policy committee to move forward to the full board. And then we also have a new procedures section on accommodating transgender and gender non-conforming students, and that is a procedure that will go along with our non-discrimination policy 1142. I'd be happy to answer any questions that board members may have on these, or you can digest these for about a month, and if you would like to send me an email with any other questions prior to the second reading, you can do that as well.
Any questions? Okay, textbooks and course fees.
This is much like Greg's first reading of the policies. This is the first new textbook fees and resources for the coming year. These are presented to the board 1 month in advance of approval, so you have a month to raise any questions that you may have about any of the fees or resources or changes. As Sean mentioned earlier, a great number of the books, the resources we're approving are digital. This includes about 50 books, and many of them from 8 titles, so drastically driving our costs down. So I just invite you to review this over the next month, forward me any questions that you have, and I'll get together with our curricular experts and prepare responses for you.
Yes,
I have a quick question on these books or e-books. So basically, this price change or this change by courses are all e-books that we have shipped from the hard textbooks?
Many of the changes in cost.
So is that means are they like up to date or revised or change of the books, or is it exactly the same as what the students can learn in that particular? For example, let's say maybe like social science, world history books, or heritage of the world, for example, that has been changed to e-books. Or there's exactly same descriptions, are there information?
Depends on the actual resource, and some of the comments, they're in the packet here, there are some description of the change. Some are just a change of a version, so it's the same kind of title and publisher we've been using, but now we're going digital with that. Other ones are new resources. So in the rationale for change, it does describe which one of those is just a new version electronic and which ones of those are brand new.
So just for curiosity, let's say if I want to take a look at those ebooks on particular subject, how do we access?
Contact me.
Contact, okay. Can I request for world history books and Heritage of the World CIV ebooks? I guess they're on page 31. Can you talk to about that?
Sure, I'll get together with the department chairman and find out how we get access.
Thank you.
And I noticed, Hank, you also, I think, distributed something showing up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is separate from, well, it was added to the board packet today, but one of the things I've done each of the past 3 years is to take sample book bags. So kind of take a average student, someone that has common courses, and I just grab their schedule and take a look at how much books would have cost before we went digital versus now that we've gone digital. So this little free floating packet will show you how that, the first year was freshman and sophomore, last year we had a junior, this year we've added senior, and you can see that even with the cost of the Chromebook included in fees now, that students are drastically saved, students and families are saving a good deal of money and a good deal of weight, as Sean said, from the backpacks.
And I think this is more than we anticipated we would save when we were initially improving the Chromebook.
The big difference between what we initially brought to the board and now is when we first started talking to the board, the publishers were pretty vehement in the fact that they believed that AP materials would never be digital. And we've seen that change over the last year. And those are some of our most expensive books, books that are between the $150 and $200 range for a book. And those are also books that tend to roll over quickly to keep up with the changes in the test, which now when they roll over, they just update the digital material. So this helps a great deal for us as a district, because we were buying those books frequently for free and reduced lunch, for students, and for families as well.
So when we're changing to an ebook, by the way, the students or the parents no longer in financial burden trying to look for the used books or used text materials and so on for sophomore, juniors, and seniors. We don't see that anymore, right?
Right, it actually becomes more like a fee, because we usually purchase a 1 to 6 year license, and then break up that cost to the families. So it isn't something that they could actually go out and shop for on their own, but the prices drop. If you look at some of these, you're looking at between $10 and usually $20 for a textbook.
And of course, I've been hearing a lot of good things about utilizing or using our Chromebooks. But at the same time, it's been what, about a year and a half, we just say, that we've been using or changing it to ebook, of course.
No, this is our third rotation through the textbooks.
Okay, so through this third year, let's say, again, we've been hearing all the positive hearings about such, but along with that line, do we experience any negativeness of utilizing those e-Chromebooks? Have we seen any technical difficulties or?
Now and then, I mean, yeah, but very little overall. The overall feedback we get from our staff is very positive about the change.
So we don't have any problems.
I'm not going to say there's never a problem,
Right.
but overall, it's been a very positive change for our students and our staff.
How about teachers who's teaching, utilizing Chromebooks? Senior teachers who's not used to with the high-tech computers and stuff.
We've been doing training for about 10 years to get ready for this, and no district, we have more Google certified trainers than any district in the world. We've been working on this for a long, long time to have our teachers as prepared to do this as anybody. That's why all of our teachers have instructional coaches. Our instructional coaches are all expert at this. So let's say that senior teacher isn't used to this, well, they have a coach who can help them. They have, each of our departments actually have a coach within the department to help coach on these. So nothing's ever perfect. You're always going to have a teacher that's reluctant, but it's about, do you have a support system in place to help your teachers, coach them up. And, no world is ever perfect, so you don't ever have everybody operating at a high level. So what you've got to do is have support to get everybody moving up to that level. And I think we've been preparing for this for the last 10 years. So.
And in defense of some of our more senior teachers are the ones really leading the way.
Yeah.
In this way. I don't know if the amount of time you've been in the profession necessarily makes you unwilling or unable to adapt to those changes.
Is it possible one of these days, maybe some of the board members might be interested, but if you can take a little tour during the school days, I would like to see how students and teachers actually using the e-books and the both two-way conversation or educational instruction.
Quite frequently, we have other school districts come through that are piloting, that are interested in going one-to-one. So the next time we have somebody come through, I'll let the board know.
That would be nice.
The other thing that, and Barb and I've talked about this too, Jen, that might be a good thing is we've got a couple of teachers that do presentations for other teachers, and they bring students in, so you're able to demonstrate not only what the teacher is doing, but also what it looks like from the student side of things. And maybe even at a board meeting in the coming months, we can bring one or two of those teachers. I'm thinking like an Allison Guest or somebody that could come in and kind of show what they do in their classroom and bring a few students in, so you could see the student view of the interaction, and that actually helps. We've done some of that training in our buildings for parents too.
I mean, overall those are good, but I thought maybe it might be nice to see the physical, the live instructional transaction itself. So classroom participation, if it's possible, actually I think maybe some of the board members might be interested.
Sure.
Okay, and from a portability perspective, I know they can access this stuff on the Chromebook. Is it like e-books where if I have my iPad or my PC at home, I can access my books there too?
It's very different from publisher to publisher. Some allow you to pull out like a chapter at a time or a certain number of pages at a time. Some offer you a full PDF version that the kids upload to their Google Drive or access offline. Although more and more of them are becoming really dependent on the internet because there's so many videos and simulations and interactive tools built in. It's not just text anymore. It's a full multimedia experience with built-in quizzes and formative assessments, and those are the tools that are really powerful. So there is a small portion of our student body that doesn't have access to internet, although when we survey our students, they respond that isn't a hindrance. We are working with some partners, nothing that I'm ready to announce yet, but we are working some angles and some venues to try to close those gaps as well, and I hope to have some answers for those couple of families that we have trouble getting connected over the next few months.
Do you know how far, potentially years we are where I as a student potentially could be at school with my Chromebook, and then I take the bus home and I open up my phone and I'm studying my ebook there, and I get home and
almost all of the books that we purchase are web-based.
Okay,
so we try to, actually I think every one of them is device agnostic, so no matter what device you have, you can access the resource.
Okay, so they're not limited per se to Chromebook.
No, that's the joy of doing a Chromebook versus a lot of the other app-centric kind of tools that are out there, is that our students can get to it through whatever device they have, not just their Chromebook.
It also, we've had in the last couple of years when we've missed a number of days for weather, we've also had teachers be able to operate some elements of class even while the students were at home. And it's given us a reason to think, is there a way that, and some states are further ahead of this, and it's a connectivity issue, but is there a way that if we didn't have school, that we could still have school, or at least elements of school?
Yeah.
Yes, it's really about home connectivity is the biggest issue.
And I must say, not to diverge, but during these past weather days, teachers have been great at sending emails to the students saying, study this, study that.
And that's where the whole Chrome, the Google apps have really helped too, because they're able to push out a lot of things during those days.
We've given teachers like full video sessions and study sessions, and just virtually during snow days.
Okay.
What a big change in a short period of time. You know, it really hasn't been that long, but what a huge change.
Yeah, we turned over almost half of our textbooks to digital resources in that period of time.
By the way, we don't have a syllabus now about eyesight problem whenever we get into this high-tech rooms, looking at, everyone's looking at this, screens, TVs, pretty much all their lives, and their eyes are getting bad and bad, worse. It's not.
They're all kids,
And at such a young age, they're already wearing glasses.
Natural selection, nearsightedness is going to become a preferred trait in the future.
Okay, all right.
There's hope.
Moving along to item 9, the consent agenda.
I'd like to move the consent agenda A through F.
I will second.
Actually, on 9A, manual approved.
Mary Hammer, whoever you
Minutes approved, yes.
We did the same time.
Go
Actually,
ahead.
I do a clarification because I could not able to attend the Building and Grounds meeting, which was dated February 25. I just find that out from Paula. But my record shows as of February 26, 5:30 p.m. If you look at our minutes on the book too, it says February 26, 5:30 p.m. And I don't know if someone has not been properly informed, or how do you guys communicate this through?
An email went out about the date change to the full board. It's in the board email.
Probably I was.
We're not voting on that.
But your comment is, it's not about the minutes of the regular board meeting. It's
I
about,
think you're at 10A.
okay, yeah.
Okay.
This is on item 9, the consent agenda, so the minutes we're considering are the regular board meeting minutes of February 9th. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, is there any other? Okay, call the roll, please.
Morales.
Aye.
Childers. Aye. Lee.
Aye.
Bessler. Aye. Sullivan. Owen.
Aye. Okay, now we'll move along to item 10, approval of bids and awarding of contracts.
I'd like to move 10A through C.
There is no motion on A. So A is informational.
And I would move 10.
Actually, it is,
No.
A is,
A's the
The Maine West Athletic
no,
Edition.
no, 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 no.
Office from
flip.
Look at your agenda.
So I'm moving 10A and B.
A and B.
Call up.
I'm going to say. I anticipated that, so I'll back.
Okay, motion second, is there any discussion?
Is it pen A are we talking about?
A and B. Yes.
Just a quick question, reference to Archon, the contract that we see right here, one page. Basically, this is about $147,000. I know once a very simple page submitted by Archon, and somehow I couldn't quite understand about all this proper estimation. We probably need a little more detail on such, especially when it's more than $150,000 estimate. For example, like, I don't know, new door hardware, what kind of new door are we talking about, what kind of brand, the size, what part of this product is, and so on, but doesn't kind of disclose much information. And sometimes, I don't know, as a professional contractors or architects who's running these projects, would they need a little more details and such?
Each of the bids has a full set of construction documents that is multiple pages broken out by finishes, trades, elevations, everything, as well as several hundred pages in terms of a bid specification. So within the bid specification, it tells you the fire rating of the door, the size of the door, the color of the door, the type of hardware, and this is just a summary of the total cost versus estimates for the whole thing. If you're a contractor, one of the things you're required to do is pick up a set of the bid documents. You're to attend a pre-bid meeting after you get those documents in case you have questions, and you can get those questions answered. Then you go back, you put together your bid, and that's how your numbers derive. So This is just a summary of the major trades and how they did the estimating.
And it's
It's
a
not,
and it's a recommendation of the architect. I mean, those bid documents are all available to you like they would be to anybody in the public. So when we're reviewing them at buildings and grounds or finance, if you want to see them, if you let Mary know ahead of time, she'll bring it down there. But at this point in time, the architect is basically certifying, this is the low bid, here's the reference on them, and what our recommendation is. Those are the three things we're looking for in this letter. And then that backup sheet shows you where the bidders actually came in. This is very standard in the construction bidding process.
One more question. Thank you. Just quick another question reference to 10B, visual image for the agreement that I see. There was no amount indicated.
there is no amount. They get a 10% commission. Because that 10% commission, and this is a 3-year, will provide them with a commission that exceeds $1,000 based on past history. We take it to the board and disclose it on the budget form every year.
So I guess that's all the things too, but along with that agreement, I have seen that the company VIP is giving out a lot of free photos providing to the coaches and so on. Would that be cost might be, I mean, giving out a free, they must be charging somewhere, and this could be a burden to the students or the athletics and so on. So when we need to look at it, maybe the coaches should not get a free photos or other stuff, and then give less cost savings possibly to the students.
These are the photos that we put on display in the school. So if we didn't negotiate with VIP to get these photos for free, we would be paying for these photos. So that's one of the reasons we put them in this contract, so that we can save the district dollars.
Which means the taxpayers would then be paying for them. And the usage of VIP for photography services is totally voluntary. So all the kids come in, they take a team picture, and they don't have to buy anything in order to turn around and take a team picture. If they want individual pictures, whether it's swimmers, wrestlers, football players, whoever it is, then they turn around and pay that package price. VIP is giving something back to the school for coming and doing that. And generally, they're team pictures, some individuals, but if you look at the bulletin boards around the athletics area, that's what provides these. But no student is required to turn around and pay for these. If they don't want to pay for them, they don't have to.
So all the coaches, they are not getting a individual coaches from
This isn't a free picture for them to take home. These are coaches' pictures to turn around and display here at the school.
School copies.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back by the wrestling room, you can see all the ones that the wrestling coaches cut up and label and, say what the kids are doing, who's the captains and so forth. That's where they generally.
You get it,
The more
each
prominent one
coach gets
is-
a team photo, but it's for their team bulletin board.
Every season, we've got those CSL all-conference kids
Right.
that are around all of our schools. I think those are some of the photos that are taken and displayed, and probably the most prominent ones every season.
One of it. Thank
This motion A, B, and C? A, B, and C?
AB.
Just A, B, because there is a
It's
C.
AB.
C.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay, then can you take a roll on this motion? Items 10, A and B. Bessler. Sullivan.
Aye.
Reed. Morales. Childs. Owen. Aye. Okay, then we have item 10C.
On the Maine West Athletic Edition, bids were open last Wednesday. 5 of the 6 bids were clustered very close together. We spent the last several days, and we'll spend the next several days, doing value engineering and looking at ways we can perhaps save some money from this project. So I'm requesting that we bring that information back and schedule a Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting next week. And then I would request a special board meeting the week of March 16th to take action on the project. One of the things we're dealing with is if we wait until April, then we delay the final completion date of the project. And we know that we'll be finished with our value engineering and information in 2 weeks, so we respectfully request a special board meeting to take action so that we can have those 2 weeks back in the project timeline.
The week of March 16th, you said?
Yes. So I know Jenny will send out some information on availability and everything. And I'll contact the members of the Buildings and Grounds Committee to see what their availability is next week.
So look for something from Ginny then on Item 11, capital outlay.
So moved.
Oh, never mind. Is there a second? Okay. Is there discussion on this?
Over half of the capital outlay represents our third and final year of replacement of the simulators that we think were installed in the 1960s. So it is a bit of a difference for the Trevor-led students in terms of the real-life driving experience that they experience in a simulator.
And that's really the difference in the two schools. There's a difference.
Correct. That is,
really is the simulator.
and everybody got them, so the year that you got your simulators, you had the major chunk of capital outlay.
Any questions, comments? Okay, Ginny?
Morales?
Aye.
Childers?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Sullivan? Bessler? Owen?
Aye. Okay, item 12, approval of technology budget. Hank?
So moved. The budget that's brought before you here, the short answer is the bottom line represents what we brought to the board last year, so we're within the budget parameters that we presented a year ago. Some of the highlights in here are Wi-Fi and network changes, a Chromebook pilot for staff with virtual applications that work on those Chromebooks, replacement of classroom displays, and some additional curricular software that used to be covered by grant funds that is no longer, as grant funds decreased, so we're picking those up within the established technology budget. With that, I'll take any questions that you have on the budget.
This technology budget is coming from which part of the money?
Primarily the education fund.
Let's see, when we're looking at some, many of these, like, your, staff Chromebooks, administration Chromebooks that they get for $240,000, $48,000. So we're giving out free to the teachers, correct? And administration to using.
Correct, we provide that tool for them to do the work that they need to get done.
Because we really require that as a work requirement now.
All of their grade books, their their requests for days off, everything they do with their students through communication through Google, their textbooks, all of those things are online now, so they need a device to access it just like the students do.
Now, so the laptops that you guys have, what we think is possible, and that's why Hank's doing this pilot, is we think we'll be able to get, most people, once they start using the Chromebook, they stop using their laptops. And if the virtualization that Hank is talking about, we'll be able to push out the Microsoft applications. Once we can do that, we think that most of our staff will actually migrate to the Chromebooks, which will actually save us money, because those are a more expensive buy than these are.
And the total cost of ownership for a Windows laptop is much greater than the total cost of ownership for a Chromebook.
Hank, I'm sorry, did you say this is a pilot? This is not everyone's getting that?
No, it's a
everyone?
one-year pilot. Instead of purchasing staff Windows laptops at this point, it's a bad time to buy a Windows laptop because there's a transition going between 8 and 10. At the same time, all of the hardware manufacturers will change all of their specifications to meet the Windows 10 requirements. So we're not in a good window to make a purchase for a long range right now. It seems that we're going to keep, if we bought a Windows device, we would keep it in place for 5 years. It's an opportunity to take that money that we would have used, buy the Chromebooks for all of the staff, run this in a pilot for a year where teachers will have both their existing Windows laptops and the Chromebooks, so it gives them some time to learn, where we're not like forcing a change on everybody all at once. Give us a chance to evaluate how the program goes throughout the year, and then mid-year we kind of make a decision. Do we keep these Chromebooks in the hands of teachers and not replace Windows laptops going forward? Or do we decide that it's not the right platform for teachers to be on? In which case, the following year, we're supposed to replace all of our Chromebooks that are like loaners for students and in a variety of places. So if it doesn't work out, we just, we put the Chromebooks in the place of the loaners. We purchase now new Windows devices in the right window to buy
new Windows devices, and nothing's lost. If it works, then
Then
the
they
following
have-
year,
then
we
they
just
have
buy
Chromebooks.
replacement Chromebooks for student loaners, and we just move forward. So we have a nice window of opportunity here to do it where we really don't disrupt anything, and if it works out well, we're pointed in a really positive direction. If it doesn't, or it's not the right thing, then we can shift and go in a different.
And you're saying about a half year is a good amount of time to.
I think so. You know, we'll be getting started in August this year, middle of August, and then I would hope that somewhere around January, we'd be able to gather some feedback. This also will match up with, we're gonna do a whole lot of technology visioning next year, because we're gonna be at a point where we're fully one-to-one, we're gonna have these pilots going on with our teachers. It's been about 8 or 9 years since we did that, and it is a large-scale process. Our infrastructure will all be in place. So next year will be a year to really re-look at technology and the direction we're going in. So it'll all be poised at the right moment to make those kinds of decisions.
Just for the curiosity, like scientific calculators, are we still using this?
Oh, absolutely.
We budget for $50,000 using this.
Well, last year, we started a process of making it so that students no longer bought a scientific calculator. We were buying them and students were borrowing them for the year. Last year, we bought about 80% of that amount that we needed, because we didn't have to buy the full 100% because a whole bunch of students already had purchased them. And then the plan was this year to buy that remainder amount that we needed.
Okay, and just for the curiosity, repairs, the Chromebook repair, hardware repair, we have budgeted for $105,000 annually. So basically, the Chromebook, who's also responsible for that such money? Is that means that we are having a problem with?
That's not just Chromebook repair, that's our entire repair budget for everything. Projectors, computers, everything that's out there. The Chromebook repair line is $50,000, and a lot of that is for upfront purchase of parts, that if students break a device, then they pay for the part and we repair it. But we need to be able to purchase supplies to have on hand so that students aren't waiting days or weeks for parts to come in.
And school Wi-Fi internet system, I think we are using an AT&T, correct? We
No,
just have
AT&T
3-year contracts?
AT&T provides the internet access, well, we'll provide a portion of the internet access. The Wi-Fi is just internal hardware that runs that. It's in a system called Aruba.
Okay, so do we just expand a 3-year contract with the AT&T on that?
For internet service, yes.
That's $100,000 plus or so.
Yes.
That's a lot of money too, right?
It's actually not that bad. I know 100, it's hard to say it's not that bad when it's a, six-digit figure, but we've kept that amount that we're paying relatively stable over the last 6 or 7 years. And what we've continued to do is every year go back to the provider and renegotiate. So that's about the same amount we were paying for 40 megabytes for the entire district about 6 years ago. Now we have 1,000 megabytes per building for about that same cost.
On a fiber ring.
So much faster,
Much more robust, redundant.
But still, it's $100,000 a month. We are
No,
paying
for the whole
year.
year.
That would be good.
Yeah, that would be a bad thing, yeah.
But we've got, when you look at industry standards for what schools would love to have, they would love to have what we've got. Yeah, we are setting the curve on this.
And we've managed to do all of this pretty much within a pretty close dollar amount for the past, how many years, man?
It's been, I think you're right, it's been about 6, 7 years.
Yeah, that we've been right around.
Since we shifted to the fiber ring.
Yeah.
So
this
that
budget has been
annual budget, just say 2014, 2013 overall, what percentage are we kind of slowly increased or decreased?
The tech budget?
Yes.
Has been flat since 2011.
And this is up slightly,
It's
but
up slightly.
it was a planned increase when So last year they brought the 2-year proposal, and this year had about a $100,000 increase in that proposal. But overall, the tech budget has been about the $1.6 million mark since 2011.
So is that a flat dollar amount or flat adjusted for inflation?
No,
Flat dollar.
amount.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah. Okay, is there anything else?
Yeah, just a couple of questions on the pilot. Is that a Chromebook for all teachers or selected for teachers?
All teachers.
And what's the criteria for determining whether to switch or not? Is it usability, is it functionality?
Those both play into it, and just overall ease of use. You know, the biggest thing is this balance between providing, you know, a device that is stable and secure, and, you know, that's all this stuff that the Chromebook provides, a consistent environment. The same experience our kids have. If something goes wrong, we could swap one out in 30 seconds or less, and you're back up and running on a brand new device, with the ease and ability for a teacher to get their job done. You know, so we need to balance those two out. The biggest thing to figure out with this is internet connectivity. And because really to use the virtual environments, you need to be connected to the internet. For using like virtual office, right? To use Google Docs, you can do that offline, spreadsheets, whatever. But the question is, how will our teachers do in that different environment? Will it be more work to get the same amount of things done, or will they be able to make the transition easily enough that it doesn't get in the way?
So one, I don't want to say concern, but one thing I don't know if we've thought about or if you guys have discussed, right now from a you know, paper system, if a teacher does something offline, they can do it offline. Have there been any concerns about teachers saying, I need internet connectivity at home, I need to have that paid, or some of that?
We haven't heard teachers saying, it's more about like they're sitting at their daughter's dance practice and they want to use that time to get work done, and wherever they're at doesn't have Wi-Fi. Will they be able to get the same kind of work done? You know, because our teachers are productive a lot of the off hours doing school work.
Yeah, I didn't
So,
say work from home.
yeah, but it's, you know, it's when they're on the go, will they still have the same level of productivity if we make this switch? But
We don't
to
have the
the
answer
early,
now, but that's.
right, but we may have an answer in the next couple of months to that one as well, so stay tuned on that.
You're teasing us.
I am teasing you, yeah, because I don't have enough to share yet. We're going to share after the meeting.
Okay. Just quick question, like, what do we do with all this yearly replacement, the old equipment?
By the time equipment leaves our building, all that it's worth is recycling. So we partner with a couple of recyclers that provide us quotes on how much they'll pay us for equipment. They guarantee to scrub it of all personal information, and then they either strip it down to raw parts, or they sell to, a lot of times, other countries or other locations. And at that point, we get a chunk of that profit back to us that we send a check to Mary, which varies greatly depending on the condition of the equipment.
And I deposit it promptly.
Just make sure that information does not go to overseas or.
No, I think all the agreements we have are that it's going to be military level scrubbing of any data on it.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and second and discussion. You want to call the roll? Sullivan?
Aye.
Morales?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Childers?
Aye.
Bessler? Owen? Aye. Can I have a motion on item 13, use of facilities, A, B, and C?
I so moved.
Second, 13 ABC.
Any questions or discussion?
I like that we're doing it.
Yeah, they're pretty standard, we've been doing them for a lot of
Yeah,
years.
we
It's
need
good
more.
community outreach, and,
Yeah.
you know, they've been, all of them very successful.
Maine West is always like the butter.
Yeah.
Well, there's 2 events in Maine West because Audrey likes to party, right?
I'd like to spend every evening there.
There we go. And we thank you for that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, Janine, call the roll, please.
Bessler. Childers.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Sullivan. Owen.
Aye. Okay, Okay, item 14, calendar items. We have March 18th, the Northbrook Spring Dinner Meeting. Where's that? Oh, on Schaumburg. On Schaumburg Road. Cafe La Paz.
So who do we request?
Jenny.
Northbrook Dinner.
You would like to go?
That's the one that last year, how many people went there?
We had a few.
Are you going to it?
I'm not sure yet. This is in Schaumburg this year.
It's the District 54 Administration Center.
Okay, okay.
Spring break is noted here. Next regular meeting will be April 7th, although we did talk about a special meeting that will be scheduled.
Do you have a sense of when that will be that week?
No, Ginny
Who would
has to
be
send
kind
it.
of guiding that, when that would be picked?
For the special board meeting.
What would be?
Margaret, you did.
Probably check.
Yeah, just still check everyone's availability.
Talk to her. Who?
Margaret.
Okay, okay, so that would be the determinant, okay.
Right.
So we're not sure if you are going to have a meeting on April 7th?
No.
That's a regular
That's a
meeting.
regular one.
The one that we're talking about is a special meeting.
So that's
Before
the
that.
election day, we are having a regular city.
Yeah.
Because it's not our election. Oh.
No,
It's
it
March.
It is.
March.
April. So-
Oh, yeah,
It's always-
yeah, but you're talking about special board meeting.
Communications and public comments. I have one card here for Eric Hoders.
Eric Cotters, 940 Foster Street. I'll be very short and sweet to the point because I know you guys love hearing my diatribes. There's been a lot of, I guess, talk, there's been like a big movement with policy number, correct me if
Would
I'm
you
wrong.
mind standing, would you mind? It doesn't, okay, go ahead.
I think my voice projects against the room. I mean, it's hard to hear some of the board members if they want to stand during the meeting.
That's
I
fine.
can't hear them.
That's
I
fine.
think you can hear my voice perfectly fine.
If you can't hear, you really should ask for us to speak.
I can't. And you guys should
Well,
have
next time you're
microphones.
here.
You should have microphones here to project in the room, which is another whole different ballgame. Correct me if I'm wrong, Greg. Policy number 5320, that's if I'm not mistaken. Nepotism policy that was brought to numerous boards, I think on December 5th, 2012, if I'm not mistaken. The only school district that I cover, and it was done through the gentleman next to me, who's one of my colleagues, was District 63. There was some talk about, I think, a paraprofessional or somebody internally who was working part-time who was contemplating, I think, running for the school board or getting involved with a contract or what have you. One of the board members also is the owner of A&D Bus Service, and they tried to include some type of a policy with board members owning a business and being on the board, what have you, which was stricken from that policy. That policy was adopted in April of 2014 after numerous discussions on the board level. Looking at districts 67, 69, 70, our district, 219, where I'm hearing nepotism out loud, as well as District 807, all have, I think, a 2-sentence policy which you can look at and refer to. It's the same policy as ours. What I'd like to recommend as a resident, first and foremost, is for you to look at the District 63 policy. District 63 feeds into our district, and develop something similar that will set a precedent for the area. I personally don't see any issues with nepotism in this district, but I think it'd be a nice movement at the high school level for us to continue with what 63 has started. So it's just a thought, and Greg, am I wrong? Is it 5:320?
We do have a nepotism policy in place. I don't know the exact.
Yeah, I think it is, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, you can correct it in the minutes as well.
Yeah,
But
we
again,
adopted one, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe, Eric.
Yeah, December 5th, 2012.
Okay.
So I just want to, bring it to your attention because it's a hot topic right now in Niles Township, so thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of reviewing closed session minutes, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, probable, imminent, or pending litigation, and collective negotiating.
I so moved.
Second. Kenny?
Morales? Childers?
Aye.
Bessler?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Sullivan? Owen?
Aye. Okay, we we are in close.
Come out of closed session at 9:14.
I'll second that.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that will be reflected in the minutes.
Bessler, Sullivan,
Aye.
Morales, Childers,
Aye.
Owen.
Aye. Okay, item 18, personnel actions. Can I have a motion?
I'll move 18, A, B, C, D.
A, B, C, D. A second?
Second.
Okay. And, 18, oh, it's Paul. Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay, take the roll, please.
Morales, Childers,
Aye.
Bessler,
Aye.
Lee,
That's about termination.
This is,
No.
no,
This
this
is
is,
18.
this is item 18A
So
through,
that's not it, right?
That's not it.
Correct.
Yeah, aye.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Owen.
aye. Okay, item 19,
I'll move 19, A, B, C, D.
okay. Any discussion? Okay, take your roll, please.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Childers,
Aye.
Bessler, Lee, Owen.
Aye. Item 20, there's nothing there for that. Item 21, other business, do I have a motion for approval of closed session minutes?
Let's go.
Actually, yeah.
February 9th.
February 9th.
So move.
Second.
Okay, any discussion, comments? Okay, take the roll, please.
Bessler, Lee,
Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Sullivan,
Abstain.
Childers,
Aye.
Owen.
Aye. Item 22, action on other closed session items.
I will move 22A.
Okay, is there a second?
Approval of
This is the
internal
approval of
substitute rates.
internal substitute teaching rates.
22A.
22A.
Which was the 14th day.
Okay, any discussion?
So this based on the professional, the staff, everyone do recommend this, yes?
Okay, any other discussion? Take the roll, please.
Sullivan,
Aye.
Morales, Lee,
Aye.
Bessler,
Aye.
Childers,
No.
Owen.
Aye.
I'll move 22B, and we'll read it for the record.
Yes.
That the Board of Education dismiss support staff employee Joanne Swiger, effective at the close of day on March 2nd, 2015.
I second.
Okay, any discussion?
Question, so just clarify one more time, please. So this person's, the job description was a,
School safety monitor. Her job is to help ensure the safety of students and staff in the school.
that's her main role.
That is the
Full-time
reason she's
job.
hired. Exactly.
How many employees on that role or capacity in our school?
About 50.
50 people just kind of
District-wide.
hanging there, just,
They're the people that meet you in the hallways, there's the people that check your IDs, they're the people that are in our study halls and our cafeterias.
We have 1.5 million square feet under roof, so it's a lot of space across the district, so it probably works out pretty close, I'd say, relatively evenly split between the buildings.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, take the roll.
Bessler,
Aye.
Childers,
Aye.
Morales, Sullivan,
Aye.
Lee,
aye.
Owen.
Aye.
I'll move 22B, that the Board of Education dismiss support staff employee John Corrali, effective at the close of day on March 2nd, 2015.
I second.
Okay, any discussion?
Question, question on the alcohol ratio was 1.04, did you say?
At 8:30 in the morning, it registered .043. He reported to work at 6:30 in the morning.
0.04. And the legal, let's say illegal, the rate is normally 0.08.
Zero tolerance.
Well, the Board
Yeah.
policy talks about zero tolerance, and I read the Board policy earlier.
You did.
It doesn't talk about a .08 or anything like that, it talks about none.
This is under the.
You cannot be under the influence of alcohol at any level.
But he was drinking at school though.
So you would be at a level of
Okay.
other discussion? Take the roll, please.
Morales.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
Childers.
Aye.
Bessler. Lee.
Aye.
Owen.
Aye.
Make a motion to adjourn at 9:20 PM.
All in favor? Any opposed?